Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MtG Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is LifeGain.deck for Dominaria Standard. So if you guys aren't in the Discord, sometimes we talk about deck types and sometimes we talk about deck lists. And today, as I'm recording this video, we actually talked about a LifeGain deck after, because this is the day after, the Dominaria or Pro Tour happened where, you know, Goblin Chain Whirler kind of decimated the format and Mono Red Aggro kind of ran roughshod over the entire deck lists. And so my buddy Troll over in Discord kind of suggested, maybe what about a LifeGain.deck deck? And he gave me kind of a rough list to look at, and then I kind of tweaked that from a token-based list to a more creature-based value list, and then that's what this is right here. But of course, before I get into it, make sure to like if you like it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and yeah, just make sure you hit the bell to notify you when we upload a video on the channel. But without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. Starting with, of course, our creatures. We've got 4 Sacred Cat, 4 Untitled Vanguard, 4 Gifted Aetherborn, 4 Responder, and 4 Amet. Amet and Sacred Cat are kind of here in tandem. A great way for the Amet to be a 4/3 when it enters the battlefield, because when it enters the battlefield, it does give a -1/-1 counter to a creature on your side of the field, so a creature you control. It could be the Amet turning him into a 3/2, or it could be the cat killing the cat and making the Amet a 4/3 lifelinker. So again, this deck is all about lifelink, so all of our creatures have lifelink, of course, except for a Untitled Vanguard. Very interesting inclusion here because we're gaining so much life. It's actually a 3/1 attacking end that can be indestructible if we just pay 4 life. So that's actually only 2 attacks from a Gifted Aetherborn, 1 attack from an Baleful Amet, and 2 attacks from an Aerial Responder. Another great card for us in this deck list is the Aerial Responder, a 3-mana 2/3 Flying Vigilance lifelinker. Again, flying is very good for us. Vigilance even better, getting around those seal-aways, getting around all those weird kind of removal spells and enchantments that we don't like. Along with Responder is Gifted Aetherborn, being able to gum up the board state with a Death Touch lifelinker, giving us life gain, as well as being able to kill whatever it hits, or blocks, rather. Can't kill, sadly, it can't kill a Goblin Chain Whirler because that is a 3/3 first striker, so we do have to make sure that the Goblin Chain Whirler is removed with our removal package. However, if they do attack in, or block, rather, our Untitled Vanguard with a 3/1 attacking in, we can just give it indestructible and make sure that they do trade, or actually, the Vanguard does kill the Chain Whirler. And paying 4 life for a Chain Whirler kill might be worth it these days. Sacred Cat, of course, is a 1-mana 1/1 lifelinker within Bomb for 1, so very useful to us as well, again for the Eternal, but also being a great turn 1 play because we have cards like Legion's Landing in the deck list as well. But these aren't just all the creatures in the deck list. Let's move on to our big bombs of the deck list here, starting with, of course, our Crested Sunmare and Lyra Dawnbringer. Crested Sunmare is here because this is a LifeGain deck, and we want to make sure we can take advantage of that fully. A 5-mana 5/5. Other horses you have are indestructible, and at the beginning of each instep, if you gained life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token. Super useful for us. Very, very good on curve. And just a 5-mana 5/5, that's decent as well. I wish it had LifeGain itself. That would be amazing, but it does not, sadly. But if we can get LifeGain going off on our turn every single turn, it's a great way for us to, you know, get a lot of life, get a lot of horses, and just kind of run over our opponent with stampeding horses. Lyra Dawnbringer being just a flying first strike lifelinker. It's another 5/5 for 5. Super good for us, but the flying and first strike, along with lifelink, I wish it had vigilance, but along with lifelink is super good as well. Getting off the Crested Sunmare trigger, as well as just being a great 5/5 flyer in the mid to late game. But that is all our creatures. We have 24 in total, I believe. Let's go over to the actual removal spells here. Fatal Push, Seal Away, Vraska's Contempt, and Settle the Wreckage. We want Fatal Push over Cast Down for those early game kind of threats like a Carry Zev, that kind of thing, where it's a legendary creature. We can't deal with it with a Cast Down, but a Seal Away or a Fatal Push can deal with it. Seal Away is here also for those bigger game threats to make sure if they do tap out like a Glorybringer or something like that, we can get rid of them as well. Vraska's Contempt is here to deal with a kind of a control strategy, a Planeswalker, or just a hard to deal with creature like an Indestructible Hazoret, something like that. And Settle the Wreckage is here for a heavy aggro strategy where they're tapping out completely and just kind of running over our land base, or our creature base, straight into our life total. So Settle the Wreckage is going to hopefully kind of back them off on that as well. Besides removal, though, the only other 4 cards we have in here are the enchantment, and that is Legion's Landing, a 1-mana legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, it gives us a 1/1 of Vampire with lifelink, which is decent. And if we attack with 3 more creatures, it flips Legion's Landing, turning it into a white mana producer, but also paying 3, tapping it, and giving us a 1/1 Vampire with lifelink again. So a great way to gum up the board state if opponent is playing aggro. The point of contention here, of course, is that Goblin Chain Whirler does 1 point of damage to every creature on our side of the field, so effectively killing our tokens. However, if it comes on the battlefield on main phase 1 or 2, we still get to be able to have that 1/1 token be created after the Chain Whirler has entered the battlefield, effectively giving us a blocker for that turn and life gainer. So while Chainwhirler is kind of the card to beat right now in the standard format. I do think that Legion's Landing is still a lot better than what people are saying. But that is it for all the cards in the main board here. Let's go over our lands really quickly. We have 3 Swamp, 7 Plains, 4 Isolated Chapel, 4 Concealed Courtyard, 4 If Near Dead lands, and 2 Scavenger Grounds. So we could go with probably some more black mana if we wanted to. We do have that 2 mana, or 2 black mana, double black mana, gifted Aetherborn, but I think the If Near Dead lands here is just fine, even if we tap it to pay mana and pay life for this. We are getting a lot of life as well, so not as detrimental to us as it looks. We also have Scavenger Grounds here for any kind of graveyard recursion. The Scarab Guard is kind of coming back in a big way thanks to blue-black mid-range, blue-black control, and we want to have Scavenger Grounds here to hopefully kind of remove any kind of targets that the Scarab Guard could use against us. But that is the full 60 here, 24 lands in total. What can we do in game 2? Let's go over our sideboard really quickly against the control and mid-range matchups. We have Doomfall, Gonti, Cast Out, Ixalan's Binding, and Invoke the Divine. Of course, Invoke the Divine is a great card for us to exile a artifact or an enchantment, but also gain 4 life for just 3 mana at instant speed. Very useful for us. Very good at being able to gain life on our opponent's side of the field as well, or on our opponent's turn, not opponent's side of the field, opponent's turn. I did think also about putting in Authority of the Consuls in here. It's not in this sideboard at all, but it could be a card we could include it later. I did think that Binding and Cast Out were enough of an inclusion here to shut down a Glorybringer, a hard to deal with Teferi or Planeswalker, Karn, stuff like that. Ixalan's Binding is also here for, if you want to throw that onto a Goblin Chainwhirler, you can do that as well. There's also Doomfall and Gonti, Lord of Luxury here too, so Gonti being a great way for us to grab their best card off the top 4, and Doomfall being able to grab the best card out of their hand, or maybe removing the only card they have on their side of the field, like, a Lyra Dawnbringer, something like that. Moving on to the rest of the sideboard here, against the more aggro matchup here, we have Totli Honor Guard, Aethersphere Harvester, and one of Ivona, Butcher of Megan. This is a 5 mana 4/4 with Vigilance and Lifelink, so again, it gets around Seal Away. It does have Lifelink, that's very good for us. We can also tap it, pay 7 life, destroy target non-land permanent, activate this ability only during your turn. So a sorcery speed, non-land permanent removal spell. This can kill a Planeswalker, super useful for us, but just a 1-up because it is kind of slow for 5 mana. Aethersphere Harvester being a great card for us to crew into our deck list. A 3/5 with Lifelink if we have the energy to spend on it, which does come in and give us 2 energy. It's also a 1 crew ability, so it can be crewed by a Sacred Cat, super useful as well. It does a decent job of being able to attack in, as well as be able to block a Heart of Kiran or a hard to deal with creature like a Glorybringer as well. Totli Honor Guard here though is here for that mono red aggro list. A 2 mana 1/3 creature, human soldier. Creatures enter the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. This turns off Goblin Chainwhirler. This also turns off Torrential Gearhulk in control and anything else that we do not like that's going to be entering the battlefield and giving our opponent an advantage. While I don't necessarily think that Totli Honor Guard is like the true answer to Goblin Chainwhirler, it doesn't hurt it at all. But that is the full 75, folks. Let's go to the list here. On MtG Traders, it's coming to about 83 tickets, and if you bill this in paper, it's coming to about 215 bucks. The expensive stuff in online are Lyra Dawnbringer, of course. Vraska's Contempt is coming up as well. Settle the Wreckage for sure too. Legion's Landing is like a few bucks as well. And one of the more pricey things online is actually Aethersphere Harvester, and that's probably just due to the stock issue. If you want to build this in paper, the most expensive cards in the deck list are Lyra Dawnbringer, Vraska's Contempt, Settle the Wreckage, Concealed Courtyard, and Isolated Chapel. Those dual lands, very, very pricey right now in the actual deck list. But that is going to do it for the deck list, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you have any suggestions for it? Please let me know in the comments down below. Like it if you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to join the Discord, the link is actually in the description for sure. We also talk any kind of other random stuff all the time. But most of the time, we just talk decks, how to build decks, and how to get better at building decks. I said decks there a lot. But I appreciate you all. And make sure to tune in to tomorrow because we will have another video coming out with another interview. So stay tuned for that. Peace.